Hi, everyone. This is Diana Palm, and I am the medium helping you heal from the grief of heartbreak and loss. Thank you for joining me today on Reconnect. Today, I want to talk to you about the 9 symptoms of unhealed grief. And I find that this is such an important topic because many of you who are suffering through grief and loss have different behaviors showing up in your life, and you may not actually connect those to the grief experience and to your loss. When I'm working with my clients, I find that many people actually carry on these behaviors for decades after losing somebody significant. So if I can save you time, money, heartbreak, and poor health, then that's what this is about. This is what this episode will reveal to you is those 9 symptoms of unhealed grief. So that once you identify that, you can begin your own healing process and connect that to the loss of your loved one so that you're actually healing it the right way. So let's get started. Okay, so number 1 for the 9 symptoms of unhealed grief is risky lifestyle. Now, this could include gambling, shopping, over drinking, or drug use. Many times when people are suffering through grief, they reach for things that make them feel stimulated or that they replace the love that they lost with something else, and that becomes habit forming or addictive. So many times it's really common actually for the grieving to reach for those things and then unintentionally create an addiction to them. So you want to look at those kind of behaviors where you're spending your money, how much you're drinking, if you're using drugs. Please seek the appropriate help for anything that you need regarding any new addictions that are showing up in your life or any accelerated addictions that you have going on in your life. The second one is poor health. This could be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. Many of the people that I talk to with grief have a lot of heart pain, they have trouble breathing, or they just have generalized aches and pains in their body. And this is grief. This is unhealed grief. When we do not process our emotions properly, they get stuck in our body. So energetically, we actually carry different emotions in different parts of our body, and we can learn to tap into those areas and release the stuck emotions to relieve the physical body of those aches and pains. You want to get those before they actually stay in your system so long that they create a disease or an illness that is more anchored in and really set into your physical body. So when you're first experiencing troubles is the best time to reach out. However, anytime that you're experiencing that, you can always go back and start to do the repair work and the healing on all of those different levels so that your physical body can release that energy and feel well again. The number 3 is sleeping around. So many people become very promiscuous after losing a loved one because they seek human companionship. They're also seeking physical stimulation, and they're looking to feel something once they've been feeling so numb and raw inside. Another component of this is that you're actually, when you're doing this, is seeking oxytocin, which is the snuggle hormone. Touching another human being or having affection actually makes you feel good. But if you're doing this with somebody who doesn't really care about you or doesn't really love you, then it actually has a more negative effect on the back end. So you want to be aware of when you're seeking physical companionship, that is part of your grief experience. And it's important to be reflective on that and not to incorporate people into your inner world and into your life and relationship too soon, just to get that kind of feeling or stimulation into your body. It's nice to be present of that is actually what you're craving and that's what you're longing for. And to be fair to the other person, making sure that you're actually ready for a relationship when it gets to that intimate level. I see a whole bunch of you in the chat room. Thank you for joining me. Hi, Teresa. Oh, I'm so sorry. That your dad just passed. I send you lots of healing and love. And your chest hurts. Oh, it is mental pressure. Yes. When your chest hurts, it's so important to do the really deep breathing. Grief makes you restrict your breath because it's like we go into fight or flight and we start to shallow breathe. It's like we're in fear. or pain or that shock of losing somebody, and we start to shallow breathe. And that is one of the things that causes a lot of restriction in our heart, in our lungs, and then all the way through our body. So one of the best things you can actually do, Teresa, is just all the way in, all the way out. Hold it. Do this repetitively. Even though it's so simple, it actually gets the energy moving inside your body again. It gets that breath. It gets everything oxygenated. And that's one of the simplest things you can do to begin to release the energy in your heart and in your lungs. Okay, so number 4, we have relationship stress. When you have unhealed grief, one or both partners can start to have a lot of conflict. There's increased rates of breakup and divorce after losing somebody significant. And I always like to tell people that when you make it through that, when you make it through that hurdle together, it's actually an opportunity for increased intimacy. It can actually help bond you together more than allowing it to break you apart. And it is difficult because both people may be experiencing the grief differently. But you must remember, if you have a partner, when you're going through loss of somebody else in your life, that this is your lifeline. This is your companion. And though you may be experiencing grief differently, it's very important to find ways to work together or seek counseling together. Or if you're receiving spiritual help, maybe you do that together. You share it in the experience so that you're both moving at the same rate through the healing of the grief. So we don't want to see catalytic or cataclysmic, what is that word? We don't want to see the ending of relationships due to unhealed grief, because that just causes more grief and more duress and more stress and more financial burden. And it just snowballs. So the most important thing you can do is, as you're healing your own grief, remember that your partnership is vital. The relationships that are closest to you in your life are vital. And it's important to find ways to connect to those others in your life and to be able to continue to have healthy communication and to give each other space and time to heal and also be supportive. We don't want grief to end your relationships and cause more problems in your life. So, oh, you're welcome, Teresa. Okay, the number 5th one is financial loss. So many people, when they're grieving, they just are so spent energetically. They're so exhausted. They're so raw emotionally that they just don't care, right? They don't care about their finances. They don't care about their bills. They don't care about getting ahead in work. It's like you lose your focus and your zest for life. And that is a normal part of grief. Grief does cause you to pull back from the normal functioning in life, but you pull back to heal so that you can come back into and engage back into your life in a more purposeful way. But the healing part is so essential to this. Many people, when they're not caring about their bills, they're feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes they have to sell a house or move or change jobs, and all of that can feel very overwhelming. So it's important for you to have support during this process. I also see people making bad investments to try to gain footage in their life financially to pull them out of the funk that they're in. But the best thing you can do is take steady steps. Those steady steps cause you to remember that every day you're doing the same action repetitively, that you're making some stability in your life, you're creating a foundation for yourself, and you can always make investments on the side as long as they're not working against your stability. But your stable steps are actually what's going to help harmonize your emotions and your spiritual energy, as well as all of your mental energy, your finances, everything. So nice, steady steps will win the race for you here. Don't look to have massive gain, because you could also have massive loss. So again, this could fit into the category of risky lifestyle when your finances are getting really out of order. The number 6th one is weight gain. And this could also be weight gain or weight loss, because I see people emotionally eating when they're upset, grabbing for the Snickers or grabbing for things that they know they shouldn't eat, or overindulging. I also see the opposite end, where people literally go into self-deprivation. They deprive themselves of all the food they want. They lose their appetite. They just feel lethargic and they don't want to get up and do anything. So it's really important to know that a lot of weight gain or weight loss can be part of your grief that's unhealed. The best thing you can do is to get on a steady nutrition plan, especially extra nutrition during your grief process. And I have videos on that about grief eating and how you can actually help your body heal your grief through eating very nutritional foods during this time. Your body has been taxed. You have been going through a lot. And it's important to refill those resources within yourself so that you can move through the grief process and heal properly. So be sure to check out that video on my YouTube channel as well. Okay, the number 7 is unhealed grief can cause people to have suicidal thoughts, not wanting to be here after the loss of a loved one, not finding a purpose to live, or not feeling excited about life and just feeling like you're in no man's land and not really knowing where to land. You may feel hopeless, alone, and just lost in the abyss without your person. So it's important to know that that too can be directly related to your unhealed grief. And it's very important to do the healing necessary so that you can prioritize yourself again, so that you can emerge from this experience with passion and purpose for a new life path, make a new plan for yourself, and get excited about it and allow new energies to come into your life. And that's easier said than done. I know this is a very difficult process, but when I'm working with my clients and they get to that point, I see them truly shift from hopelessness to hopeful. I see them get excited about their lives. I see them making inspired life changes and getting happy and excited about the rest of their life, the rest of the years they're going to have here, and the journey that they are still on. And believe it or not, part of that process that really shifts it for people is gaining that connection to their loved one in the afterlife and knowing that they really were not abandoned and they really aren't alone in moving forward. Having that afterlife awareness helps bring that reassurance and stability into your life, and feeling that connection also really fuels your ability to be able to move forward in your life. Number 8 is the loss of faith. So many of my clients that are grieving turn against God. They completely abandon their religions or God, source, energy. They feel totally alone, like God is putting them through too much, and they decide to shut down spiritually and just, as if God doesn't care about them. And that's not the way it is. Everyone has a divine plan for being in your life. And part of that divine plan includes their death door when they leave your life. So there is a larger thing going on that we don't necessarily see in the physical plane. But when you give up your faith, you can't grasp it. You can't see it. And that's one of the most profound ways to understand the life that you got to experience and share, and even the life that you lost. Being able to understand the higher version of that, the more spiritual aspect of that, will restore your faith. And you will know that everything was in divine order and still is. That's very important. When you lose your faith, you can lose your way in life. And so whatever faith you have, whatever spirituality you have, this is a time of deep inner seeking. And I see a lot of people emerge from this experience with more faith, with more trust in the universe, more faith in God, themselves, the larger plan, all of it. And this energy translates to happier living, healthier body, more stable finances, and just feeling good spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, and physically. So if you're losing your faith, you may be on a stumbling block. You may not see the larger picture. You may not know how everything plays together for your greatest good, because when you're grieving super hard and you're in despair, it's very difficult to see that. So we want you to be able to shift that as soon as possible so that you don't let these other outside influences get a hold of you in your life and start you down the wrong path. The sooner that you can actually heal these things within yourself, the better that your life will improve, and the easier it will be to shift the energy of grief that you've been experiencing. Oh, yes, Teresa. So I'm just going to put this up here for a second. Okay. My goodness, I thought I was getting sick. Yes, that's natural grief. Oh, yes. Honey, you are not going crazy. Absolutely not. Um, so many people, they don't understand grief. They think it's just, they talk about the waves of grief that you feel good and then all of a sudden you crash and burn and you cry. And that is true. I mean, that is natural for grief because every time you can't just tank, right? Otherwise you just would be going right to number 7, suicidal thoughts. So grief is natural in the way that you feel good. You feel like you're on top of it. You're cresting that hill, and you feel like, okay, I think I've got it under control. I think I'm okay with it. And then all of a sudden, boom, you go down again. And you do that because you can't pump out all the energy of grief at once. So when you go down and then you come back up again, it's like a release of the pressure. And that's why it's set up naturally as a wave. To release it all at once would be very overwhelming. So we have those little reprieves. And every time we go down, it doesn't mean we're going to get stuck there. We come back up and release that stuff that we just dealt with. But that's why the healing process is so important. And that's why I also set up my Reconnect program, my #1 spiritual grief healing program, in 9 weeks, because that is expected. And in 9 weeks, we work with the different spiritual energies and components to help shift and release that energy so that it doesn't plummet and doesn't go straight down. We want to work with you through the time frame after the loss of a loved one to really make sure that you get the most benefit from the entire experience, because grief is a gift. And when you can get there with it, you'll actually see it showing up in your life. You'll see so many things in your life improve, and you'll feel like you know that you're destined to still be here and that your life is going to be fabulous. Okay, so the number 9 symptom of unhealed grief is just that loneliness, severe loneliness. And this is where you withdraw and you isolate and you reject life sometimes. Maybe you're not going to family functions or seeing your friends. And sometimes this is necessary. And I refer to this time frame as your sacred solo time. So if you are withdrawing and you are isolating, please don't feel like this is a negative thing. Understand that there's a certain period of time where this is necessary for your own healing. During the sacred solo time, this is for you to nurture yourself, to nurture your soul. And I always lead people through experiences for how to do this at home. And of course, that's part of my program too. But I recommend lots of hot baths, naps, doing things that are just good for yourself, because you want to nurture every aspect of yourself. You've just been through a lot. And grief will bring up things that need to be healed from the past in order to be in the right space for being able to heal those things. You want to feel stabilized, nurtured, safe, and secure. So this is a time for you, sacred solo time, for you to really just love on yourself like no one's business, to support yourself, to allow yourself time to be nurtured by you. Don't get mad if anyone else is not showing up to support you, because this is all about you doing it for you and learning how to really love yourself. So this is what is required to truly transform and heal. So there's a few things that my program really addresses, and that is healing the energy of grief. It addresses the areas of your life where you're feeling the most pain. So I'm able to take those 9 sessions, and even though they're specific to what we need to move through, I'm able to make them personal to you in whatever way you're experiencing grief. So for those of you experiencing more health problems or more relationship problems, more addictions, whatever it is, we will spend quite a lot of time and energy clearing that energy and working with your belief systems and spiritual aspects to really help wherever it is that you're holding on to the grief. And my job is to get you to the point where you find and receive your inspired new life path. So everything has changed. It changed the moment your loved one died. And the sooner that you can reach for your inspired life path, the more you'll be able to move forward, feeling happy about what you're creating and knowing that everything you've been through matters, that it all matters, and that your loved one is still with you. So if you feel like you need some help, if you're stuck somewhere in grief, if you're doing any of these 9 things to sabotage your healing, if you're still carrying forward any unhealed grief, be sure you check out my program. It's very unique. There's nothing like it on the market. As a medium and a spiritual healer, I'm able to really work with you energetically and spiritually to clear these things. And I've been helping the bereaved for over 30 years. So I know exactly how grief gets stuck in your body and in your life. So it's amazing. And I love to see my clients move through the experience and emerge just almost like brand new versions of themselves, really leveling up in life and feeling peaceful about the life and death process, knowing they're still connected, and just finding new joy and satisfaction and feeling better in their own body and life. If that's interesting to you, be sure you check it out. I also have some links below this video. If you like the 9 symptoms of unhealed grief, check below this video for my link. It's actually called, on the link, 9 Ways Unhealed Grief. Oh, wait, no, wait. How do I name it? Well, look below the video. It's what is unhealed grief costing you? I believe that's the name. So look below this video for the link, and you'll see the 9 boxes come up with the different descriptions that I just gave you. When you click on each one, it will go into a longer description. So it'll just have a box with a label under it. And when you click on the picture, it'll open up into a nice paragraph that's more informative, and you may identify with other aspects that I didn't cover in this video. So be sure to check that out. I also have my grief assessment that's free, and you can do that right on my website. The link for that is also below this video. That will also stir some things like sleepless nights or nightmares or different things that you have going on in your life. And you can actually just do this assessment on your own to see how you're experiencing grief and where you are on that healing process and your own journey. So all of that below this video. If you'd like to book a call with me, I also have the link for that below this video. And you can always go to my website for more information. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you next week when we can reconnect. Bye-bye.